Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Nittany Pod. I am AP, and of course, they are Alex and TK. We got a lot to talk about, man. Week 6 was absolutely insane in college football. Going to go down as one of the greatest days in college football history. Penn State moves on to 5-0, comes out with a 27-11 victory. And, it was slow. Definitely not the blowout that we all wanted it to be. I know we were all talking about it all week. So, understandably, there were a lot of people pretty upset after the game, during the game. We got into it a little bit. You guys were going crazy during the game. But 48 hours out, I rewatched it on Sunday. I don't know if you guys got to rewatch it at all, but obviously time has gone on. How are you feeling about it now?
Yeah. I did rewatch it. I think you lose, at least myself, right? Like I do have big, I would say, knee-jerk reactions at times watching the game. Um, for example, I was at the game and I didn't know we scored on 5 of our 7 drives. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Um,
Didn't
I
feel that.
think that things,
No, it
I
didn't.
think, I think things when you're there watching, you miss out on some really good things. I also did notice again, though, like we play these. I don't want to call them inferior teams because it is a conference game. Like it means the world. Like look what happens around the country, like you mentioned.
Mm.
Like dude, there's a time and a place for us to be rotating bodies at mass volume over and over and over again. Like
Yeah.
like I'm all good with that when you're up by 20 points, but I think when I watched this game back, similar to when I watched the Illinois game back, we as Penn, and this is, I had the same fucking conversation when we were talking about Kent State or whatever after the first quarter. The way Penn State is on offense, the way our offense works, like this year, have we displayed the big play? Absolutely, we can do that. That's there. That's proven. You can do it. We've seen it. But that's not necessarily the Penn State offense. Like
Right.
having long, sustained, boring drives, you could call them, is kind of what Penn State does. Yeah, we scored 27 points. Should have been more, as we know. But they scored on 5 out of 7 drives. Like, you score on 5 out of 7 drives, you probably win the game most games. Like, and I don't think about that stuff. The defense was okay. I mean, it was good.
It was its typical
I don't,
performance throughout 2024.
yeah, yeah. It was cool to see him get a stop when they were driving down the field the first time instead of letting him score again. But that was cool.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway, and I think the reason I was kind of rage tweeting before halftime, because I know I can get Wi-Fi at Beaver now.
I cannot.
So you just gotta walk out back in the north end zone, you'll get it. Anyway, I just want this team to start faster.
Yeah.
I was trying to think because I ran into our buddy PSU Troll up there at halftime, and I posed a question to him. I'm like, when did we score a first quarter touchdown last? I don't know when. Kent State. I don't think we scored one against West Virginia. Maybe we did. I know we didn't score one against Illinois. We didn't score one this past week.
Yeah, we did against Illinois. We went right down the field against Illinois, I thought. First drive. I don't know.
Yeah,
I might be mistaken.
That was
but
no, I think you're right because that was a good response after the defense had a pretty shitty opening drive there. But anyway, I just want this team
your point
to
still
start.
stands. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want this team to start faster, and that's not just me picking on the offense. I could say that about the defense too, right? The opening drive against Illinois, they didn't, they allowed some. It wasn't a quick 3-and-out, this past Saturday, but to TK's point, like, at the end of the day, I do think you get wrapped up in the fact that if the score isn't as big as you feel it should be, you feel like it's a loss. And I think that's just the nature of how college football has gone over the last, really probably since like 2016, right? Like style points became a huge thing.
Yeah.
And I think with this expanded playoff, like I think you're going to see this, I don't want to say less, but I don't think it matters quite. Yeah, I don't think it matters quite as much anymore. Like, I'm sure we'll get into what happened around the country, but you know, like just win, right? And then when you come back and you get home and you watch it again, you look at, this stat and the other stat, it's like, okay, we weren't, we played better than
Yeah.
maybe I thought while I was watching the game. And I didn't rewatch it. I probably won't. Simply because I think like the season starts now kind of thing. So, I thought, and then last thing, and we can kind of move on a little bit. I was happy that we didn't have the penalties that we had been seeing, right? There was
That's
no
definitely a huge
pre-snap.
positive.
There was no pre-snap BS. There was no late hits out of bounds. I think Franklin said post game there was 2 penalties for 20 yards was it. That was a plus.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we got that cleaned up.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely a frustrating game, but I think it was frustrating from the aspect of we all expected it to be a blowout, and it wasn't that. Penn State played slow, methodical. They had a 16-play drive that took 8 minutes off the clock. Those are things you really actually love to see. They're not sexy, but I mean that's how you just beat the hell out of a team. Again, it was frustrating, but it's one of those games that you live with. Like you said, Alex, just win. In today's era of college football, just win. But for the second week in a row, we had one of those games where if you're a box score watcher throughout the country, and Lord knows there's a lot of them, you're going to look at the score of the Penn State game and say, wow, they didn't really do much, but they handled UCLA from start to finish. The defense played great. They just started a little slow like they typically do, but you look at the second half, 23 yards up until that final drive with mostly second stringers, but 23 yards in the second half from the first string defense, continuing the trend. It was a good performance. Yeah. It's not one that I take much from. Kind of a throwaway game. Nick Singleton obviously didn't play, got him rested up for next week. There was a lot of controversy around that this week, but end of the day, he got the rest for the week. He's going to be playing this weekend. Who fucking cares, man? Like, let's just move on.
I actually care.
Jesus.
That pisses me off. Like that really pisses me off. Like
it was dumb.
Not even from obviously I'm a fan of the team and want to see Singleton because he's a big part of our team. But like low key from a betting perspective, that shit matters. Like him not playing and finding that out right before the game starts is kind of bullshit. Like in a way, and then honestly, 2 things. I forgot that Berger transferred from Wisconsin to UCLA.
Yeah.
I loved him at Wisconsin. He didn't really do much for them, but he was.
He's a good player.
Yeah. And also the backup quarterback for UCLA might be better than the starter. He was not bad.
Yeah, he did play. He was one of those situations where I wonder if it was because I think they said he had 5 pass attempts in college up until obviously the start. So I wonder if it was just a situation where, Penn State didn't have much film to go off of from him, going off of his high school film. You throw him in there, they have no idea what to expect. So you get some mojo going. Obviously, the defense tuned in on the second half. I just wonder how much of it was that. He played well. I don't want to take anything away from him. He played very well regardless. Even in the second half, he was efficient.
We're probably being a little too harsh on this defense, if we're being honest with ourselves. Last year's defense was really, really good. This year's defense is really good. I thought Zakee Wheatley was flying all over the place on Saturday.
Yeah,
I mean, he
looked incredible.
He was everywhere. It seems like he's building confidence. He's getting more comfortable out there.
Rojas was playing too.
Yeah, I thought our linebackers played well. Other than one, I thought our defensive line was okay again.
Very much so.
I think James said post game too that they held them to -9 yards in the third quarter. I don't know what it is with Penn State in third quarters this year, but you're not moving the football whatsoever at this point in time in the third quarter on this defense. So, yeah, shout out to them. I know they give up some yards early, but, when push comes to shove, they held a Big Ten opponent to 3 points. That's not a bad.
Starts this weekend.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure. But I'm just
yeah,
saying, any Big Ten opponent, that's not a bad day's work, right?
Not
yeah.
at all.
They
Can't complain about that.
this weekend's really interesting because it's I feel like, and I still feel like it's the second biggest game of the year because of who it is. I I just I hope you talked about starting slow. I don't think you're in a situation this weekend where you can start slow and kind of give them life right off the rip. I don't think you can do that this weekend. Um, but I mean, what here looks like 8 different targets from Drew this weekend. Um, 8 different
Yeah.
people catching passes. That's massive. That's massive for us moving forward. Obviously, Clifford had a big game. Um, there's a lot. There's a lot that this team's going to need this weekend in LA to win. And I think, like James talks about how they've won different ways, and I think that's true. Like I think they have won a lot of different ways. I think,
Feels like every game it's been a different way.
yeah, we haven't seen Penn State's best game yet. I firmly believe that. But they're definitely going to need it this weekend, no doubt.
Yeah, and let's go ahead and get into this weekend. What are your initial thoughts? Obviously, USC coming off of a loss on the road against Minnesota, they find themselves out of the top 25, which kind of sucks a little bit, but it just takes away a little bit of the luster of the game. That's it. As far as the meaning for Penn State to the game, just win the fucking game. I don't care where USC is ranked, but
Yeah.
obviously takes away a little bit of the luster. But what are your guys' initial thoughts on USC and this game coming up?
I think this is. I would agree with TK that this is easily the second most important game of the year, if not the most important game of the year.
Absolutely.
Because given the fact that USC is coming off a loss to Minnesota, guess what that means? People are expecting Penn State to win. And we are favored here early in the week. We climbed to number 4 in the AP this week. I did not see that coming. I thought we would be around 6, maybe 5. It's, and I think I put a tweet out about it on Saturday, or maybe it was Sunday morning. Like, it's time to put up or shut up.
Yep.
And this is a big game, no matter if USC has a number in front of their names or not, because of who it is. You're playing Lincoln Riley. You're playing on the road. It's going to be nationally televised on CBS. You'd be only the second Big Ten team to travel west and win, or travel, coast to coast and win so far this year.
Yeah. Either way,
it would be an impressive victory. And I'm also going to say this. Now, this is given. Maybe I even shouldn't say it, but if the rest of the season plays out like we think it should, this is a playoff game.
Yep.
If you win this game and the rest of the year plays out like we all think it should, you're in.
Yep.
Case closed. It's over. It's game over. And obviously, a lot can happen in the weeks that follow this game. But getting into the nitty gritty of this one, I think Penn State has the potential to bully them around. I think on the offensive side and the defensive side of the ball. USC's tackles did not look good against Minnesota. I thought Minnesota. I loved PJ Fleck going for that on 4th and goal on Saturday. He just told his O lineman, like, you go get me a half inch, and they got him a half inch. So I think Penn State will have the ability. Nick Singleton has to play Saturday.
Yes.
If he does not play, I become a little bit more concerned.
That Nick Singleton thing is definitely a huge deal because a big takeaway from this past Saturday, the offense does look very different without Nick Singleton on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, did not have that explosion element, but go ahead, TK.
No, I was, just kind of reiterate what Alex said. I mean, I think it's a playoff game. I think I agree. I've said it from the beginning. This is the biggest game of the year. You win this game, put yourself in a great spot. In college football, it's week to week. You give yourself a little bit of leeway here.
Mm-hmm.
but they're going to do a lot of things. Like, I mean, now, I was not a fan of us moving to number 4 for one, because now it's top 4 team goes to unranked USC.
Right.
And USC could very easily be 5-0. Like, they could easily be
Mhm.
5-0. They have their weaknesses. They are weak on the inside. They are weak on the outside, on the offensive line. But they're going to do – the thing that worries me is they're kind of good at what we've shown flaws. Like, they want to get the ball out fast. Like, they want to just drop back. Like, I mean, what? Like just get it out as fast as possible. Like, and for us, like, you see us sometimes we're playing off the ball. Like, that's going to be there all day. Like, so that can't take a whole half for you to adjust to. Like, it just can't. On defense, yes, they've given up a lot with the run. But Penn State, like, I've said it, I firmly believe it, like, the 2 teams they've lost to have just run the ball. Like, they're just running the ball. Like, we can do more than just run the ball. So if you're going, like, you can run, but I want to see us take advantage of what we can do through the air. Like, because that's where I think the game's actually going to be won for us. Like, Tyler Warren, Wallace, Evans, like, that's where I think it's won for us. Like,
and that's why I think it's been so key getting all of these guys included the past 2 weeks, because you're going to need all of them to contribute on Saturday. So the fact that, like you said, 8 people got involved through the air on Saturday, I think it was a pretty similar number against Illinois. That's huge.
Say one other thing I think is something that everybody should be paying attention to and looking out for is USC offensively is very, very talented on the outside. And Kimber and Harris and Miller and Elliott Washington, whoever the hell else is going to be rotating in there, Zaki, Jalen Reed, all those guys, they're going to have to play well. And that means staying in coverage long enough that you can allow Abdul, Denai, Zane, so on and so forth, to get home, because I do think there's going to be lots of opportunity to get home. But if you can get the ball out in less than 2 seconds, you're never going to get home, right?
Yeah.
So it'll also be interesting to see, if Tom Allen is not able to get home with a front 4. Does he bring pressure a little bit quicker than maybe he wants to? It'll be interesting, because I do think you can get after this quarterback. I think we saw that on Saturday.
Yep.
Absolutely. I think Michigan got to him about 27 times when they played, like, pressure-wise. So, I mean, it's definitely not a one-time thing with USC.
Right.
They are going to give up pressures. And Penn State gets to the quarterback, and they've been turning it up the past 2 weeks. So,
special teams, keep the ball away from Branch.
Yes.
That's simple, man. Like, it really is that simple. If we punt it out of bounds, bro. Like, I don't even want to see it, man. Like, because everybody talks about, like, oh, he's an unreal talent, and he is. Like, he has some gifts that are unbelievable. But the reality is, he's only really been able to show them so far, knock on wood, in the receiving game, like in the punt returns. Like, that's really it. Like, so I'll be interested to see what we do there. I'd love to see the kicker not have to put a Texas wedge spin on it for it to go into the end zone like last weekend. But yeah, I think that's a huge part of the game as well, is special teams, and Franklin has made that clear. I think I'm excited to see, because you can't convince me that what we've done the past 3 weeks or 4 weeks after West Virginia is the offense. Like, you can't convince me of that. No. For Illinois and UCLA, they just ran the ball. Like, they just ran the ball, and they're completely content just running the ball. So for me, it just and what the players say in their interviews and the press, it just seems like there's so much more to unpack than what we've seen so far. And I look forward to that as well. And defensively too.
It's gonna be exciting.
The amazing part is, and I know I shared this in the group chat earlier today, but the amazing part is for as much as they have seemed to rely running the football last week, Illinois, so on and so forth, they still got 4 guys that have gone over 100 yards receiving in 5 games. Like, it doesn't feel that way. And obviously, Amari Evans catching a 50-yard touchdown, helps that cause. But, Liam did it. Harrison Wallace did it. the offense still just feels different to me. You know, you go out there and they roll out there, and I have a little bit more confidence. Like, okay, we're gonna at least drive the football here for a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's a welcome sign because we all know last year's was brutal.
Yep.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to as well. You guys mentioned we scored on 5 of 7 drives against UCLA. That first drive, we went 3 and out. It was frustrating, but hearing all the post-game comments and looking back on it, watching it back, it's understandable because from everything that I've heard, Drew Aller didn't even know that Nick Singleton wasn't playing until they were lining up for the first snap. So
Which
I'm
is
sure the
mind-blowing.
offense was complete. Yeah, I mean, absolutely insane. But I'm sure the offense was completely thrown off with Nick not being in there. That's not to fully excuse it. I mean, they were off on that first
If
drive,
it
but
is,
second drive, Donko gets hurt. Is
we
what
can
it is.
we can assume that AK probably scripts, maybe a little bit, maybe kind of similar to the NFL script, the first 10 or something like that. So
Yeah.
if you all of a sudden lose a player after warmups, like your first plays are probably out the window. It definitely throws a wrench into things there. I do want to talk about this injury thing here, and I think Ben Jones put it perfectly today. He said it's amazing that we couldn't get anything out of Nick Singleton's injury against an opponent that you were favored by 30 for. But today, you already said that Nick Singleton's going to play on Saturday. What?
I mean, he did say Thursday and Friday this past week that he would play against UCLA as well.
Just playing weird mind games here. What are you doing, James? Like, it's like the part that's most frustrating to me about this is like, if it's not long term, just say it's day to day. Say it's a week. Say it's whatever. Give the fans something. If you really think, and this is, I feel like where he has too big of an ego sometimes. If you really think that a coach is listening to you and hanging on every word as much as you think they are, you're crazy. You're crazy.
Yeah.
You're not Nick Saban. You're James Franklin.
I mean, coaches are crazy. So.
Coaches are not tuning into your press conference trying to, hang on every single little word you say about a possible injury. Get over yourself. That's all I'll say on it.
I don't understand why you come out today and say he's playing. Like,
right.
Like, I think it should be the opposite. Like, if you want to be corny about it, then you should be like, we don't know. It's day to day. Which you do every week. You say that every week.
Right. Now this week it's magically different.
Now this week, oh no, he's good to go. No worries.
Yeah. Like with the utmost confidence.
But it took.
Could you
guys imagine how Twitter would be though if he said, "Oh, he's day to day"?
No, listen. I mean, it's great. Like, as a fan, like that's what I want to hear. Like, just tell me that. Like, I don't want to sit throughout the week and be like, "Holy shit, is our best running back not playing?"
This is a massive, like, cannot be overstated. Massive game for James Franklin. Like, it is unbelievable. Like, I don't think people realize because now they're unranked and people are like, oh, it's at USC that they're unranked. Dude, this is like, there's 2 games every year. It's usually Michigan and Ohio State. This year, it's Ohio State and USC. I don't care, what else has happened. Washington will be tough. At Wisconsin, I'm sure will be interesting. Yada, yada, yada. USC, you're playing USC in LA. This is the second game for James. Like, this is the one. You beat USC on the road. I don't care what the record is. It's USC. That means more to me than beating Maryland on the road or Washington on the road, whatever. Like, This is the game he has to win. If he doesn't win it, it's the same shit. It's the same shit. It's actually worse because they're not as good as Michigan has been. So he has to win this game. If he doesn't, he deserves all of the hate that would come with that.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
They should win this game. It's very similar to the West Virginia week 1 when we were talking. This is a game, as we've seen it play out now. We've seen the team play. We've seen USC play. We've seen how we perform. He should win this game.
Yes.
If he doesn't win this game, you cannot. It's indefensible, dude. It's indefensible.
Yeah, I mean, and that was just what I was about to say. USC, this year's version of USC, or really any year the past few years of USC, is not what Michigan was the past couple years. Is not anywhere near what Ohio State is. So, I mean, it should not be a game that we're coming into looking at as, oh, it's definitely going to be a loss. It could be. Any game could be,
Yeah.
especially when you got James Franklin.
Yeah.
But it should be a win.
This is a game you should win. I
Yeah.
mean, we can just be honest. It's
Yeah.
it's a game you should win. That there's nothing when watching this USC team this year where you think, wow, they're national title contenders, right? Or wow, they're better than OSU. Like, none of us have thought that at all this year. And I also want to just to TK's point there a little bit. You would also be losing the game to a coach that is very subpar against ranked opponents so far at USC. I believe he's 5-7. So not only would you lose to an unranked USC team, you would also lose to a coach that's not very good against ranked opponents throughout his tenure so far. But yeah,
Like he's playing himself.
I agree with TK, and I do think it's a little unfortunate that they lost and they're not ranked anymore, because that does take. I don't even think it takes luster away from it, because I still think everybody's gonna want to tune into this matchup at some point. But man, like, you lose to an unranked.
It's hard to describe. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know where you're gonna, like, where do you fall to then? Like, I don't know. And I don't know if, me personally, especially after what the Phillies put me through last night, I don't know if I can handle watching Penn State lose as a top 5 team again. I don't know if I can handle it.
0-2 as a top 5 team. 0-2.
Lasted at number 2
The
for
Iowa
me.
fiasco. And what's the other one? Minnesota?
Yeah, Minnesota.
Ohio State.
Ohio State as well. Yeah. What were they for the Michigan game that year? I feel like they were top 4 for the Michigan game that year.
We've only been top 4.
In 2017, twice. We might have been 4. Or were we
for
7?
For the Michigan game. I forget what it was.
No, we might have been lower than that.
So we were 3.
It might have been, yeah.
So we
were 2 going into Ohio State.
Right. And that was after beating Michigan.
Right.
Yeah.
But I forget what we were for that. But it doesn't matter. Yeah. Thing is, we're and whatever. Maybe one win.
Hold on. Fun hypothetical here. Penn State wins, takes care of business. Ohio State wins. There is a chance that we could get 1 versus 2 in Happy Valley on November 2nd. There is a chance.
That would be incredible.
I mean, I'm
making sure
I know what that game is already, so I don't need
I mean, I do too.
I don't
exactly. But
dude,
I'm so
that'd still be incredible.
But dude, just imagine that place for 1 versus 2.
What this game would do for me, right? Like, this is the fan perspective for me, okay? And this isn't the right way to look at it. I'm sure there's some, fans out there that'll hate this because it's like, oh, well, what if this? If we beat USC, assuming we take care of business with Wisconsin, which could be weird regardless, I will watch that game in State College against Ohio State just drunk as shit, unconcerned.
Yeah. Right.
Just enjoy my time.
No, I agree.
If we lose, I'll just be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, cool.
Like, okay.
Maybe we'll see them in Indianapolis.
Right. And people will be like, oh, that's the shitty mindset. I'm like, bro, I'm not on the team. Like, if we lose, if we lose to them as the number 3 team in the country, or 4 team, or whatever we'll be, if God willing we get there, and we drop to 8, I'll be like, okay. Like, cool, man. Like,
go win the rest.
Go win the rest, and you'll be the 6th seed in the playoff. Yep. Cool. Do whatever you got to do, man.
Yeah, and that's the best part about the expanded playoff. I mean, honestly, because if we were still in that 14 BS, we'd be on pins and needles that entire week, and then going into the game, you'd come out of it frustrated and everything else, and your season's probably over. Maybe not with 1 loss still, but most likely yes.
Right.
So it's just, that's the best part about this expanded stuff.
Well, that's a nice thing, too, about the Big Ten losing its divisions, because like I said, we may lose to Ohio State come November 2nd, but depending on everything else that happens, especially with Oregon, we could end up playing them again. And obviously, we probably know what that result would end up being, but at least we'd be able to come out of that loss saying, well, we might have another shot at them.
It's so sad.
You'd rather lose to Ohio State and be in the playoff than lose to Ohio State and not be in the playoff.
It's so sad that we've gotten to this point on this pod that we are just, all three of us are in here just being like, yeah, whatever. We know it's a loss.
Yeah.
Like,
So does everyone. So does 99% of the country.
yeah,
Like,
I don't disagree, but you think back to 2016, the miracle happened. 2017, you have a double digit lead. Same thing in 18. And now we're just back to this point of it's gonna need a miracle again. Like, that's terrible.
Give me score predictions for USC.
Score predictions for USC. I think they got to score 28 to win. 28. I think it's stressful as fuck, man. I think 28-24.
I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I think PSU can put up more than 28 on this defense if they start quicker. Maybe like a 10-point first quarter. Like, wow, that would be cool. Man, I haven't really thought this far ahead yet. But I'll go 31 to 27.
All right, so we're not covering on any of these.
I think it's going to be a close football
I
game.
do think we cover.
What is
I
the
think
spread? 4?
I have 4.5. I think 4.5, maybe, depending on which book you look at. But
yeah.
So we've mentioned how USC is giving up a lot of pressures, specifically to Michigan and Minnesota. I don't know about Michigan, but I do think our defensive line is better than Minnesota's. And I think they're getting into their rhythm here, especially Abdul Carter and Zane Durant. Denai Dennis Sutton looks like he's coming on a little bit too, and you can tell he's hungry. I think, and Miller Moss has thrown an interception, I think, almost in every game this year, maybe the past few games, definitely.
Yeah.
So if you're able to get at him often, put him under duress, you might get him into a couple mistakes. I think Penn State by themselves on offense is able to put up a few points, but if the defense gives them some short fields, I could see him getting into the 30s. I'm going to say 34-27.
Yeah, I think the turnover battle is a big thing here. Penn State has the ability to get some takeaways, be that by interception or some fumbles, and set up a short field. I do think that could be a momentum swinger, even for a score like TK's, where it's maybe not as high scoring. It could be even a bigger momentum shifter there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I could very well see it being a lower scoring game. Both of these teams are notoriously horrific starters this season. Both of them start extremely slow. So it could very well be a low scoring game. But if Penn State's defensive line is able to continue its trend up, I don't know.
Yeah.
we might be in for something fun on Saturday. We'll see.
Defensive line, if they have their way, this game is interesting. And if if the offensive line continues what they've been doing and we're able to move people, could be very interesting. So
yeah, I would love a
special teams. Definitely scares me.
Yeah,
I would love a Auburn on the Plains 2 years ago. I would love a West Virginia this year kind of performance from this team. That would be, I think that would kind of not only elate us as fans, but it would also kind of put the country on notice, I think, a little bit more.
Oh, definitely.
Because currently I feel like there's plenty of people out there that are saying like, oh, well, you're only fourth because, everybody lost, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think that's a valid argument a little bit, but at the same time, like, Penn State can go prove it a little bit here on Saturday.
Yeah. Just go win, man. Just go win the game.
And they're fourth because the teams in front of them lost. Guess what Penn State hasn't done to this point? Lost.
Yeah.
So all you can do is blame the teams that were ahead of them.
Right. And they also have not looked like Miami in their wins, which is a plus.
Right. Speaking of Miami and that crazy comeback on Saturday, let's talk about Week 6 a little bit, man. October 5th, 2024 is going to go down as one of the greatest days in college football history.
Especially if
Crazy, man.
Yeah, seriously, especially if you're in Nashville. Absolute insanity, man. Alabama goes on the road to Vanderbilt. I don't know how much of that game you guys watched, but I tuned in when it was like I think it was 13-0 Vanderbilt. Whew, that was insane. 4th and
Oh,
1,
dude.
going for a bomb to put yourselves back up 10 when Alabama's coming back. Just ballsy stuff. Then, of course, Michigan going down, USC going down, Miami almost going down.
Miami's
Yeah,
flirted with
Tennessee.
Miami.
Yeah.
Mizzou got shit on bad.
yes, big
They got
time.
put on the
Dude.
hub. They absolutely got put on the hub.
They got shit on bad, man.
I hope UNLV enjoyed their ranking because that's over.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Yeah, it was an incredible
Shout
day.
out, little brother, man.
It was
Yeah, I didn't want to give them the dignity,
we're
but
not
I guess we
Shout
have
out.
to.
what the fuck is
Hey,
this?
you got
Fucking
to.
TK doing it right here.
Hey, you got to, man. They're the second best team in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, now they're talking shit, running their mouths, man. I hope they fucking lose every game from here on out.
Buddy, if
No,
Penn
I will
State
shout
played-
out. I will shout out Indiana though.
Definitely.
I'm not shouting out Indiana, bro.
Ripping
You'll shout out
six.
Pitt, but not Indiana.
Right. Come
No,
dude.
Indiana has played the worst schedule in the history
That's
of college
fine.
football so
They're
far.
still 5-0.
Yeah.
Bro, they could lose every single game after that.
I mean, Pitt would never be 5-0 if Neil Brown didn't shit himself.
Hey, we support West Virginia now.
I get that, but he shit himself against Pitt.
I don't know, man. I would
That
do
was
a lot
rough.
of things.
It was an incredible day of college football.
Shout out Army and Navy as well.
Congratulations to Vanderbilt, because that was insane. Never would have thought that would happen. And the best part
That
is
scene was crazy.
Best part is Nick Saban a couple weeks ago said that easiest place to play is Vanderbilt. Yeah, I mean it was great.
Did you see the video of Vanderbilt? When the final score hit and all that stuff, fans start rushing the field. Over the speakers in the stadium, they played Nick Saban saying that.
Did hear that?
Yeah.
And then they ripped down the field goal post, carry them over 2 miles through Nashville on a Saturday night on Broadway, throw
Crazy.
it into the river.
That's great.
You gotta love college football, man.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Absolutely the best sport in the world, hands down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out Army and Navy, both of them undefeated. It would be incredible to see an 11-0 and 11-0 Army and Navy game at the end of the season.
That would be sick.
So what would happen with like the playoff selection and all that? Like, would that have to get put on pause?
No, the playoffs have actually come out and said in this scenario they would. I forget. They would basically decide the playoffs and then say winner of the game is in. Yeah.
Damn. I was kind of hoping they'd pause it.
Right.
Jesus.
Kind of sucks knowing that I guess both of them wouldn't be able to make it in. Which
I would suck.
Let's
The
move
G5
on
could
to.
give up their spot.
You said what?
The G5 could give up their spot.
I agree.
Well, that would be the G5 spot. They're both in, I think they're both in the American, or one of them. I forget.
Well, fine. Then the ACC can give up theirs.
Let's move on to week 7, man. Coming into this season, this was going to be, I mean, it is the biggest week of the season, but obviously hindsight is 2020. Last week, that's going to be hard to top, man. But got a lot of great games on this weekend schedules. A lot of weddings that people are going to be going to as well. So RIP to all of you. I send my condolences. But to us, we will be watching football, thank God. Let's pick some games. Ohio State goes out to Oregon. Now, we already know the Big Ten is 1-7 when you're traveling 2 time zones plus. So that's a tough thing to battle there for Ohio State. But we do have a couple people in denial of jet lag.
It's at night.
Who wins that game?
It's at night.
Buckeyes.
So, yeah. I mean, it's going to be early evening in Eugene. I don't think the time thing's going to be that big of a deal for them. I think Ohio State wins. I think Ohio State could win handily.
Yeah.
Depending on how it goes. I'm not saying Oregon's just going to, lay over or anything, but
Buckeyes.
yeah, Ohio State.
Yeah, give me Ohio State as well. I hope it's an interesting game. I really do. But Ohio State's the better program. They're the well-oiled machine.
Still trying to figure out what Oregon actually is.
Yeah, that as well.
Not sure.
Honestly, I'm still trying to figure out 99% of these college teams this year. I feel like right now it's Texas and Ohio State. Those two look clearly the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country, but everybody else, I mean, you can say, some teams over the other based off of roster talent and all that stuff, but I mean, who knows with all these teams?
I think it's pretty safe to say Georgia's probably all right.
Yeah.
Maybe. They got down 28-0 to Alabama.
Oh?
Yeah, but then
it's Alabama.
They started scoring.
I mean, who just lost to Vanderbilt?
I mean, they came back and took the lead, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing that keeps you guessing. It's like, which iteration of this team do I take? Right, exactly. Yeah.
You can't go week to week.
No.
Obviously, history tells you they'll probably be all right.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine.
Ole Miss LSU. Who's winning that game?
Ole Miss.
Yeah, I always feel like I just align with TK. Ole Miss.
And for that reason, I always try to go against you guys, but then it always backfires on me because those picks usually end up being right. So, I mean, fucking give me Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, man. The Fighting Lane Kiffin / James Franklin's.
TK can get these picks right, but he can't get his fucking lock of the week right. What was your lock? Wait, we didn't record last week. What would have been your lock of the week last week?
Oh, you can't do it now.
I guess.
It's
what
obvious.
was it?
I would have taken fucking Vandy.
Yeah, right. Sure.
Come
on,
bro.
It's what it is. It's what it is. I saw it a mile away. I would have taken Vandy. This week it's real fucking simple, man. The lock of the week is real fucking simple this week, man. And I hate to do it. And I know a lot of people are going to be upset. But the Buckeyes are the lock of the week this week, man. They really are. Like,
feels like a safe lock.
That game might get sexual, man. Like, I hate to say it, but
I would disagree.
It is what it is, man. It's what it is.
I wonder how your lock 2 weeks ago did as well. You might have just gave the Buckeyes a kiss of death. I don't know. We'll see.
Hey, if I did, I did.
I ain't mad at you.
Any of us are going to be too upset about that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I ain't mad at you if you did, but last game that we want to predict, Texas and Oklahoma. Red River rivalry shootout, whatever the hell you want to call it. Texas, Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl with all the crickets.
Give me Texas with the points as well.
Mm.
Yeah, I love this game. I would love to go to one of these one time because I think it's one of the greatest traditions in college football.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Oklahoma's just not on the level Texas is this year. Rumor has it Ewers might be back sooner than later, possibly this week. Not that it matters. Archie is just fine. Yeah, give me Texas.
Yeah, I mean, definitely give me Texas as well. I mean, I don't think that was really much of a question. Really, we put this game on here because it's you got to pay homage to the big game, right? But this game though does have a history of just being one of those being ridiculous. You can't predict what's going to happen. I mean, one year one team wins 49-0, next year the script is flipped. Like,
they're some of the best games I've seen. Like, they're incredible games sometimes.
I will absolutely not be shocked if Oklahoma has Texas's back up against the wall. That's just the way it goes, man.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, maybe.
But anything else we want to talk about here? USC week, big game on the line. James Franklin, gotta win this one.
Gotta have it, man. I need it so bad. Like, I need it so unbelievably bad, man. I feel like shit. Like, I need it so bad.
I need it because I want so bad 1 versus 2 November 2nd. That's like I'm jumping way too far ahead here because we all know what happens after a bye week and going to fucking Camp Randall. Like, we didn't even get to that yet. But
And Wisconsin
man,
looks all right
like,
right now too.
Beaver Stadium would be absolutely insane on November 2nd if that was the case. And I want that in the worst way.
That place might collapse.
I mean,
the renovation is not
starts,
done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Until Jeremiah Smith, does his thing, then it probably wouldn't. But yeah, the buildup would be incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to add for this week's episode?
Gotta have it, man. Got to.
The Nittany pod will be interesting.
I am
next
praying,
week if we lose this game on Saturday.
I'm praying, James, that you win one of these, man. It's not even a ranked team. I'm fucking begging.
Well, maybe that's better, right? Maybe the number being out is better.
The metrics are in our favor.
Yeah.
When it comes to James
I'm
Franklin.
begging, dude. I'm begging for Drew, like completely unrelated. I'm begging for Drew to just come out and go like 25 for fucking 30 for 350 and 4 tuds. Like, I'm begging for that. Like, we've been longed of a performance like that. Please.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, we're still continuing to see spurts of his potential. As the season goes on,
and that's why I've been so optimistic about this team this year. Obviously, not really when it comes to Ohio State, but I've been bullish on this team. Like, I was going at it with you guys on Saturday. Like, it just feels like there's so much that this team is withholding itself from showing for this game, more than likely for Ohio State, but I just really want it to show itself because I felt this way pretty much every year in the past, and it's never gone right. So, I don't know. I just have a feeling for it this year. We'll see. But thank you so much for tuning in to this week's edition of the Nittany Pod. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe wherever you listen to. Follow us on Twitter. Take care. We are